Well, hello, and thank you very much for checking out some What Was That Radio and here on youtube.com slash, a hyphen, no, I shouldn't have. There's two things. If you pre-write out an intro, right, cognizant of sounding like a news reader, yes, welcome to the channel, and then seeing my eyes follow, not focusing with you. But then here's the other thing, is that if you don't plan any kind of wordage when you're going to go about sorting an intro, it can be pretty shit and seem very underprepared. But it's how you recover from that initial start and drive forward, creating a positive future for the... Welcome to a conversation with Lowlives. My name is John Williams. I really appreciate your time. You can discover modern rock by going to whatwasthatradio.com. And I would tell you a little bit more to set this up, but there's no point because we're going to dive in and dissect everything about what this band is, how they carry themselves, and why they galvanized me in the first place. All lies within a conversation with Lowlives. If this brings you any joy whatsoever, please do consider a cheeky like, share, or subscribing to this YouTube channel. It would help me tenfold, but is not required. I feel like I already said this. Here's a conversation with Lowlives. Lee's getting all connected.
I'm trying.
You can hear me. Fabulous, lovely. Good morning, good evening.
How are you?
I'm not too bad.
Right, let's have a look. How the fuck's this? Have a go. Video.
This is my favorite point in every single Zoom conversation is the initial connection. You learn a lot about someone in these first few seconds.
How absolutely useless they are with technology. There we go.
There we go. Oh, with all the marshals behind you. They're legit. That's not a fucking poster, right?
No, it's not a poster. I just have a lot of amps. Nowhere in this room to turn without there being amps. So, man, you got a proper little setup. Look at this.
Well, I mean, this is mostly my partner, mate. To be honest, this is Jodie's just gone to work. Otherwise, I would show you her wonderful soul and her 7-year-old Harley. But she loves the 70s aesthetic and vibe, and she loves those yellows and browns. And this is all. And Harley did the tree the other day.
Yeah.
So this is all on them. I've been living with them now for a year this week.
Nice.
And yeah, so it was really strange.
Sick.
Sorry, what was that?
That sofa looks fucking ace.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's every Monday night I sleep on that sofa.
Treat.
And that's actually a thing because Harley, like when the really long story short is that when I moved in a year ago, it was with a couple of cats. One of them sadly passed away, but then the other one has become very, very lonely. And because Jodie is allergic to cats, he's not allowed in the bedroom. So on Mondays, I come down so the cat can sleep on me, and then Harley loves it because he gets to go and sleep on his mum's stomach like old times. So it's a cute Monday night, you know?
Nice. Yeah, this is the only reason my cats aren't allowed to come in because my cat has a tendency to piss on everything. So.
Oh, that's not good. You got a sprayer.
Yeah, I know. He's a right little shit.
Okay, well, Luke will be in any second.
Let me text the old boy and see where he is.
But what was trippy for me is that I am about 5 minutes late starting the stream for the wonderful people that are watching right now. Steve's here, Josiah's here, Danny's here, and Twitch did not like your band name. Have you found this? Have you encountered this yet? Where Twitch said, "Sorry, Lowlives is a band title name. I couldn't use." Yeah.
What?
I love it. It's in keeping with the reprobate theme.
Here he is. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, man?
Good, thank you. Look at that. We've got the marshals behind Lee. We got the gold record plaques behind Luke.
It's not owned by me. It is owned by me, but it was a hand me down.
Yeah, what have you got behind you? Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, so I'm in my studio right now, and basically I'm sitting where my drums would normally be setting up, but since we just got out of the studio, there is no drums in here, so I figured I would set up in here and give you a bit of a better background than a guest room bed.
Hey, that's great. Thank you.
What's that, man?
What was that gold disc for?
It's my dad's first gold disc, wasn't it?
Oh, that was the 1 year's one?
Yeah, it was. He was like, you need a disc. I've been trying all my life just to get one disc, and yeah, he basically was like, yeah, I'll give you a disc.
Here's your fucking disc.
Well, can you expand on that for our viewers that are like, hang on a second, I can't put two and two together, Luke?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, the reason I got into music was, you know, my dad was he managed bands in the 80s and 90s, and so you know, this band, the Wonder Stuff, he basically you know, managed them right the way from sort of getting a little first demo tape off them in a record store to all the way to kind of selling out Bescott Stadium and whatnot. And this was their first album that they put out, and also the first disc that my dad ever got. And so he's got a lot of discs, and I convinced him to move to America. And so, you know, they live around the corner from me, but he was just kind of like, man, he's like, you know, he knows my woes of trying to just get, you know, I'll take even a silver disc at this point, but yeah, he's like, I'll hook you up. So he gave me that one. And so, yeah, I've always had his first gold disc on the wall in the studio, you know?
That's always been like, I mean, I've not been around as many discs as you seem to have in this moment, Luke, but that's always what's tickled me a little bit about the radio life is when the agent shows up and goes, we want to thank you for your support. Here's this disc on behalf of the band. And I absolutely feel the giddiness that you're exploring now, because I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Billy Talent. I was responsible for that. No, I fucking wasn't. No, I wasn't.
A lot of my friends that don't even play instruments have got more discs than I have. It's funny. One of my friends that I work with, his brother's in a significantly large band, and I won't go name dropping, but you know, they tons of #1 records, and he's got platinum discs on his wall, and he hasn't even played a cent of music. And so I always find it amusing that my you know, it wasn't just about the discs, but it's kind of like a little comical side note, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like growing up and trying to finish the Barclays Premier League book, you know. Well, whatever it is that we can connect to that brings us sort of grounding and excitement, yeah, that's our number. But your dad's called Les, is he?
Yeah, Les Johnson.
Because he followed me on Instagram a few hours ago.
Oh, look at you. You're getting hooked up, man. He's Les Johnson hitting you with the follows. It's big time.
It is big time. And he's got a private account too, so I couldn't check if he was a bot or a scammer or what. I had to believe he was real because it said LOWLIVES followed him. So I thought this guy seems legit then.
Legitimate lunatic.
Yeah. So are you both in LA or California, sorry, or?
No, I am, and Luke lives in Arizona.
Right. So
we're very spread out as a band. Like,
I was formerly in LA. Real quick, John, let me just check here. Is my internet's going weird? Is it me? Am I kind of freezing?
Keep on freezing.
Yeah, you do freeze a little bit. And Lee, on the off chance you've got any headphones, that might improve your audio a little bit. We're good. Otherwise, we might just need to get Luke
Let's have a look.
to switch it. But I do find the AirPods are great.
Give me 2 minutes. I'll get my AirPods and I'll open the doors.
All right. Second. No pressure, gents. Take your time. Get comfy.
Get comfy.
Get comfy. That gives me a little second here to check in with the chat. Josiah saying, how dare Twitch hate the name LOWLIVES?
I know, right?
It's just, it's so odd how these community guidelines come in. Is that really, has someone been thrown around, oh, you're such a lowlife, and it's actually, it's insulted someone? You know, come on. That's so strange.
Hang on, let me turn my Bluetooth on.
Yeah, this will drastically improve it. Don't fret on time, man. It's, we've got plenty of time.
There we go. Eat shit pods are here. There we go. Come on, connect. Useless. Useless.
All right. Let's have a look.
Let's have a look.
Anne Marie saying, yeah, social media's got too many rules. It's interesting, all these, because I was saying, Luke, I don't think you know this yet, but I was late starting my end of the stream. I usually start 10, 15 minutes before to get people in and go. I was going to watch some music videos, and even though on the air, on the show on whatwasthatradio.com, I had played pretty much every song you've written this morning leading up to it, but
nice.
Twitch wouldn't let me broadcast because it said that your name is offensive. LOWLIVES is offensive. I mean, I can't.
Well, there we go.
I love it. It's meant to be offensive.
Is it meant to be offensive for you? Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm joking. I just think it's funny that a platform like Twitch is like LOWLIVES, you can't be used. I'll have to dig into it and see what the crack is with that, because it's pretty interesting that you know, I feel like there's nothing offensive about it, really. But
no, I mean, if there's people on Twitch right now perusing this platform, I'm 2 clicks away from someone making out with a microphone. So I mean, I don't think it's, you know, all this ASMR stuff that's going on. There's people licking exhaust pipes. You know, I think I'd be more worried about that than fucking the name Lowlives. Anyway.
Licking exhaust pipes sounds real exotic.
Not sure where that came from, to be honest.
Yeah.
Derper, who's a first-time chatter. Derper, pardon me, welcome. Nice to see you. You've got one of their shirts with good old Queen Liz on a sad face on. Such a great shirt. There we go. There's a Low Lives fan.
Love that.
Make sure you send your merch to Windsor Castle this year, gentlemen, because she won't be in the usual spot. And all that.
So yeah, I love that shirt. That shirt's wicked. I can't remember. I think it came from a meme, rightly. We were just kind of there was a meme going around for a minute, and it was, you know, basically it was kind of like that feeling when, you know, and then some sort of caption, and it was her with like a real sad face, and then it was like the second part of the meme was just kind of like, but then. And then it was her with the kind of face that we ended up putting on the Queen shirt. I think we did make a second one, so it was like 2 sides of the meme. But we didn't print them both, did we?
Yeah, we did print them both. The happy Queen went down better than the sad Queen.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Oh no,
yeah,
why do you think that is?
Who knows? I don't know. I never thought about that shirt as being offensive either, because it's a picture of the Queen. It just has Low Lives. I've had friends wear it out about in town, and they've been like, this is disgusting. You can't wear a t-shirt like that. You're like, I didn't even contemplate that it would be offensive. But apparently that's calling the royal family Low Lives.
Why do people get offended when rich people get insulted?
I know.
You know, they've got all the systems at place to deal with. If they see that shirt and go, oh my God, my life is scarred, they can go and get a counsellor. They've got the money for it. That's fine. I don't understand. Sorry. You're very quickly getting a look into my attitude. I actually got my old landlord when I first moved here 10 years ago. At the time, was doing sound for Bad Religion, and he sent me a shirt across from Spain, and it was 2 nuns making out.
Oh, nice!
And that was one that I rocked for a few years. It certainly got the odd look, and I would particularly go to spots where it would guarantee that you might get the odd look as well.
Yeah, I used to have the regular Bad Religion shirt as a kid, and I used to get so much shit. For when you're a kid, you don't even contemplate. I'm just like, it's a cool band shirt. And then you realize it's like, you know, a crossed out cross with Bad Religion. People just think it's like a giant statement. But God,
I mean, yeah, the merch when I was playing in Amen, the merch that they were putting out with the, you know, the cups of cucks and all of that, like pretty much every piece of the merch was like a bold statement and super offensive. And at the time I was young, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is sick. And you're like, oh man, that, like, some people really probably got bummed out by this swag.
Yeah, it also reminds me of Wheatus and Teenage Dirtbag, right? And that song based on a real life story of the kids that had a bit of a get together gone wrong, where there was some murder off of New York, and the kid that was the sort of survivor of that situation was wearing an Iron Maiden shirt, and so everyone labeled him the demon follower, and that's where that lyric was inspired by. I mean, I've hashed that story the wrong way round, but hopefully not the wrong way around, but that it was inspired by a true event.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Wow. That is wild.
So Luke, your signal, I love it. I'm watching on Zoom. It's going red to yellow to green and all in between, but it's not quite Match Lee's hair yet, but it's getting there. we're working towards that strength of signal. But Luke, we'll focus on you for a second, and then Lee, we'll go back over to you. I love the context of it. So Dad, then Les has inspired you to get into music. Did you feel as a kid that you just naturally, Luke, leaned into wanting to be in and about that life, or did your dad say, look, it'd be great, I could manage you, I could get you a tour bus, I could get you on this gig, start learning now? How did that start about?
Yeah, so firstly, if the signal becomes a problem, I'll gladly switch background to somewhere in my house near a router where we can get some better signal. So yeah, just stop me. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like from as young as I can remember, my dad was doing like stuff with music. So, you know, it started out, he used to basically promote bands in Birmingham. So he was kind of like
he was just this like independent promoter basically. So you get bands like Killing Joke and New Order, you know, and sort of like he would promote them in Birmingham. So he put New Order's first Birmingham show on, and you know, he just kind of like was in that sort of like independent promoter scene, and then, you know, he got approached by the Wonder Stuff to manage them. And so like from as early as I can remember, there was kind of like he had a little market stall on Saturdays in the local town where he would sell gig posters and stuff like that. And then like, you know, he would go out promoting, and then like he started managing. And so like I just kind of saw my dad doing this like music stuff, and there was always kind of music grebos coming around the house and stuff like that. So basically that was kind of like my exposure to it initially. And I was kind of interested because I couldn't put the finger on it at the time, but I would assume it's the subculture of it that kind of probably enamored me. But yeah, I mean, you know, moving forward, the drummer Martin, actually, I don't know if you can see this actually is an item from, so Martin passed away quite a few years ago, but he was the drummer that influenced me. And so, you know, I got a few things on this wall that have kind of been important to my life, but he gave me my first pair of drumsticks basically, and he was the drummer at the Wonder Stuff. And I beat the crap out of the couch, you know, and just kind of beat the crap out of the pots and pans. Usual drummer 101 story, basically. Just beat everything with these sticks. And my dad came home with a drum kit one day, and I don't know, it wasn't like a thought out path. It was just like, oh, he's showing interest in this, and these other elements in my world sort of like, you know, consumed me. And so that they just kind of poured a bit of petrol on the fire, you know what I mean? And it kind of started to burn brighter. I mean, the family, really, when I look back, I feel like the family identity was music, you know what I mean? So it's like my mum would go to all the shows with my dad and stuff. You know, we were a small family unit. So I feel like the family kind of thing was that we were in music, and that was what we did, you know? And so like I would play drums at school. They'd call me up and they'd be like, hey, you know, we're going to do some hymns. We want some accompaniment. Bring your snare drum. And I'd be like, it's kind of weird, but okay. So I'd go and do stuff in first school, and then, you know, it just kind of accelerated until the first time there's a lad across the street from me got a bass guitar. And he's like, I'm going to have bass lessons. And I was kind of like, oh, that's awesome. Like, you know, like maybe he can bring his bass amp over to my house and we can just play together. And so I remember the first time like playing with another person. Like I'd only played to like tapes and CDs at that point. And so playing with a person, it was like this level unlocked, you know what I mean? It was this kind of like unattainable level. And then somebody plays along with you and you're like, holy shit. And so, yeah, he came over with his bass guitar, and he had this like tiny little combo amp. And I was like, there's no way that's going to get heard over these drums, but it did. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say that was my kind of first incarnation of jamming with somebody. And then from there, just like little local bands, and I don't know, man, it was like full speed ahead. You know what I mean? I'd go to my dad's shows that he was doing, and they were playing massive shows at the time. And I would just hear the drums in the PA and sound check and stuff like that. And I'd just be like, that's what I need my drums to sound like. I need to hear my drums in a big room. And, you know, and so, yeah, it just lit a fire in me, and, you know, kind of almost to the point where today I would say it's like a blessing and a curse, because I still have that fire. But we all know the infinite kind of hurdles with trying to do music full time and make it sort of lucrative enough to be able to live, you know what I mean, survive off it. So yeah, that's the double-edged sword really, is that like that's still all I really want to do. That's all I really want to focus on. But I also have a family and bills to pay, and I'm not 16 anymore where I can just kind of eat a bag of chips and stay in my parents' spare room.
Yeah, well, I think for me to click onto that, Luke, thank you for sharing, is the biggest thing I've learned this last year is going from 10, 15 years of consistent employed work in a big conglomerate to then being a singular individual, falling in love after being years of just a solo dude, just trying to work on my career. And then right at the start of the pandemic, I mean, Jodie and I only went on our first date to a coffee shop 2 weeks ago, and we've been together for nearly 2 years. And
Wow.
The pressure that I've put on myself, and to bring it back round to you, is what I try and do is remember the simplicity of where the passion started. For you to highlight what you just said is, as a kid in the sound check, I want to fucking hear my drums through a PA. And that's where I find as an adult, we can distort and look back at what was initially a really big goal and a bright positive mark in our lives and go, well, that's meaningless now. So you've always got to hold on to that lustful energy as a kid to be through a PA system, because you guys are going to be doing that a lot in the foreseeable future. And my boss said to me in the last few years, well, before we went separate ways, he retired and I left, but you know, success is what you make of it. And I'm approaching 35 in a couple of months, and I'm so rampant on myself to keep growing, to keep improving, that I sometimes lose sight of the amount of victories along the way. So I love that you shared that. And from our chat on the phone last week in sorting this out, it became very clear very quickly that you're very grounded and you're very realistic, but you're also incredibly passionate. And I think
sometimes too realistic.
but it's that delicate balance. It's a delicate balance. Now we're going to click back into that. Absolutely. But Lee, for me, you are, as we were saying on the air before we came into this Twitch situation, what I adore about this band is that it stands and delivers. And that's not meant to say it's simple or to be whimsically negative in any which way. I adore songs like Trucker Steve said in the Discord chat, that you just fucking crank it and it just drives you through. And we drove through that 50 minutes before this chat on Twitch, what felt like 10 minutes due to the music you produced. And so, Lee, where did you discover this fucking voice as a youngster? Where did it come from?
I actually don't really know. I think it's just, I've always just, like, when I was a kid, all the bands I loved were all 3-piece bands, like Silverchair and Nirvana and all the Green Day. I was just obsessed with them. So as soon as I kind of I started playing drums first, and then kind of picked up a guitar when I was like 8 or 9. My auntie Jackie gave me a guitar. And the thing was, like, my dad was like, oh, you have to learn, if you can play this and this and this, I'll get you a better guitar. That was always the aim, because I had, like, you know, crappy classical acoustics with, you know, that the strings are like 2 inches off the fretboard. And it was like, if you can do that, I'll get you this Encore Strat that's like £100. So it was like, okay, I'll learn that. So it was like, learn the middle of like a Rolling Stones song, or like my dad liked Smashing Pumpkins. So it was just like, learn the middle of Bullet with Butterfly Wings. And if you can do that, I'll get you another guitar. So I kept on doing that. And then it was like, well, if I'm playing guitar, I guess I have to sing, because it's just naturally the thing to do. And then just somehow just sung, and it kind of happened. I always get this all the time, especially in my old band, because it was a lot of screaming kind of stuff. People would always be like, oh, what's your technique? How do you do this? What style of singing is this? I'm just like, I have literally no fucking idea. I just somehow shout and somehow it comes out. I have no idea. All I know is it makes me burp like a motherfucker. That's all I know. Like, really, like, appallingly bad. But that's the only thing. As soon as I start singing, I start burping. I think I have bad stomach issues anyway, but still.
Oh, well,
but yeah, I have no idea.
Unless there's anyone in the chat that's a vocal coach, it could be down to just lung placement or airflow.
Yeah, I've got quite big lungs.
There's a great video somewhere back in the Instagram, LOWLIVES Instagram, of him doing what is probably the most insane things I've seen anybody do as a vocalist. It is the longest scream in, I don't even know how he does it still to this day, longest consistent scream. But at the first take, he kind of fluffs it, and then he does like a whole bunch of belching and then just hits this long scream. So if, you know, anyone watching wants to go dig deep and see that, it's a good old chuckle. I would say it's probably about 3 years back in the Instagram feed, but it's there.
Is it storied?
No, it's just it's a main line.
Oh, it is
post.
It is on the post. Okay, so that must be back when you were doing Burn Forever then, the first EP.
That was when we were doing the last batch of songs. So not the stuff we've recently been doing, but we originally anticipated to do the record. We basically did Burn Forever, and then we were going to do loads of songs that was going to be a record. And then it just got to the point where we were just like, let's just release all these songs that we recorded, like 12, 13 songs. Let's just release them as an A and B. So that's kind of what we did for those 2 years. So it was when we were recording those was the belching incidents.
Yeah, we kind of refer to it as album one, because we got together to record an album. Basically, the way that those songs were recorded were this, right? We made this and me and Lee at that point, and then we started to kind of reach out and figure out other guys. Burn Forever was its own recording session for one song, just to record one song, and kind of like figure out how's it going to sound. So we recorded Burn Forever with Bo, and it just came out great. So we put it out as kind of a like single. Hey, we're in a new band. It's a single. So we just put that song out on its own, and then it kind of morphed into like, let's make an album. So we went in and made an album. We didn't retrack Burn, but it was intended to be part of the album. So we went in, we tracked the album, and then kind of like, as you do with a band, new band, we're trying to shop it, we're trying to figure it out. We had some tour opportunities coming up, and we didn't really have any material out, and we shopped the record and not really like figured anything out yet. So basically what we decided to do was a vinyl self-release, which became the Burn Forever EP, where we took some of the songs off the record, put them on, and sorry, there's something going past outside. Put them on the EP, and then we also did a quick recording session with the acoustic version of Burn at my house. And so that made this kind of vinyl EP and nice little physical format release, which is always nice to have a physical, especially with vinyl. And so like the intention still was to get like this album out, you know, and Burn still would have been on it and probably a couple of those songs, but it just never really kind of came together. We never really found a suitable partner to release, and we were just like, we need to keep the material flowing. And we had a bunch of kind of changes on the back end. And by that, I mean, kind of, you know, we partnered with some people to work with us in management, and then it didn't work out. So we separated. And so like, meanwhile, on the front end, people are just kind of seeing this large gap between releasing any songs. And so I think 2000, wow, when did we release Hey You?
2020.
2019? No, 20. Yeah. It was 2020. Yeah. So we didn't release nothing all of 2019, and we played 3 shows, and we're like, are we even in a band? Like, what are we doing? Like, we're waiting for phone calls back from people to like see if they want to put out an album. Like, we just didn't do anything. So we're like, we got to take matters into our own hands. And this band was always about being DIY. We just happened to come out the gate with a few more opportunities than we'd anticipated. So yeah, basically we were like, right, let's pair this up into singles, right? And so 2020, boom, we dropped that single. We went out on tour around Europe. Meanwhile, kind of this gray cloud was coming over, and we were like, whoa, this is really going to be a thing, you know, with COVID. And so we dropped the first single. It had gotten some great playlisting and great response. We went out and did this tour with New Year's Day in Europe, which was awesome. And yeah, you know, the rest is kind of history, right? We hit into COVID, and we're like, well, it's a good job we decided to break the album up, because we're not going to be playing any shows, but at least we're going to be able to kind of drip feed out this material kind of every 3 or 4 months, hit a new single and video. And so that's what we did. It ended up becoming a series of singles versus an album. You know, it was originally intended to be the first album of this band. And so, yeah, now like I often get people, you know, and Lee, I'm sure you're the same. We get people hitting us up on the Instagram being like, when are you going to do an album? When are we going to get a full length? And I'm like, you kind of have a full length. It's just sadly broken up into singles. So maybe make a playlist, you know, with it in the
someone has actually. Someone made a playlist, and the order they chose was actually pretty close to what we were going to choose to be the order. They even made cover and inside artwork. Yeah, it's pretty ace.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that.
Yeah, someone made like
I do too. Yeah, I love that.
It's real good.
I'm also just going to sass myself for the way that I just went, I love that. Oh my God, guys. No,
I love that you did that.
Luke, we might have to get you to move to a different room, Luke, because you're speaking so wonderfully and so passionately, but and then it just comes back into your point. We were getting pretty fortuitous with it earlier whenever you paused to breathe, Zoom would pause. And then when you went to speak again, Zoom would let you continue again. So that was quite fortunate.
I'll be back.
Okay, you do what you got to do. That's interestingly, because what I was going to ask you... Oh, well, hang on. Sorry, we're getting a fucking full Monty tour here. Oh, no, we've cut away. Oh, yeah. There we go. We're going through the corridor. Oh, it's a picture of him and his daughter, is it now?
Yeah, his daughter, Pen.
Not everyone else can see that yet on the stream here. But no, that was interesting. When I was listening to these last night, driving around doing some last minute, holy fuck, it's Christmas in 3.5 days or whatever.
Yeah.
I was playing through all the songs, And it felt to me like Burn Forever was a different session and everything else was done at the same time. And I was going to say to you, I feel that your voice, I mean, Hey You was the first song I heard from you guys. And I was like, this is my kind of fucking song. And one thing I was going to ask you is not necessarily how you go about, you know, drinking honey in your tea and looking after your voice and how you trained it. But for me, there is a difference, and it's a subtle one. It's a finite one of maybe 5-10% of power that I felt that maybe you didn't have in Burn Forever that then did strike in Hey You. Is that down to production, or am I hearing something that is purposeful on your part?
No, it kind of could be, actually, to be honest, because obviously Burn Forever was the first thing I kind of did like after my old band broke up, and we were, you know, obviously a very heavy, like we were a heavy band. So I think Burn Forever was like the first, basically going back to playing the music that I loved as a kid, trying to do that kind of thing. And I think maybe I was just finding my steps with it a little bit. And then by the time we kind of started hashing out more and more songs, I think maybe my voice just kind of came together a little bit more. I kind of think I found where my actual real voice is, rather than trying to emulate other vocalists maybe, or trying to almost sound like my old self in my old band maybe.
But that's what's so fascinating, because there is a massive fucking difference between the way you're going about singing before and in Low Lives.
Yeah.
And so it does make sense that as you're living and learning through the experience of Burn Forever, and then as you go into the rest, Hey You, Bones, Gravity, etc., that there is a differential. But it's really, these songs are really, really good. And I am not the be all and end all, pardon my voice today, not the be all and end all of music. I just know what I like as an individual, and I really like Low Lives. And Luke, you were addressing there that, and Lee, maybe you can bounce into this a little bit more initially, in how you were hanging around a lot in 2019. I do find that interesting in the sense of, this is not your first foray for the four of you. This is not your first merry-go-round at this fickle life called the music industry.
Yeah.
Looking back, how do you feel about that year? Because if you're just waiting, that's extremely difficult on one's psyche to just keep making.
Yeah, it pretty much was. Yeah, it was not the greatest year. We were just, you know, how music industry relationships and stuff like that, and just some just weren't good, I guess. And then we only had, I mean, what did we do? We did Back to the Beach Festival in, who was that with? It was like The Used and everyone, wasn't it? That was in Huntington Beach.
Yeah, it was like Blink, and it was a wicked show. You know, and basically what it was just like, we were on pause, and, you know, we didn't really have like an agent at that time. Like, we'd kind of parted company with an agent. And it just, you know, all these things, like, I feel like a lot of the stories of music business is everything breaks up and in this like ferocity, and everyone hates each other. It was never like that. You know what I mean? With any of these folks, we tried something, it didn't work. Cause I mean, ultimately, like, this band kind of dropped its first music in like 2017, end of 2017. So 2018, we'd already landed a tour. We'd already kind of teamed up with a manager and got a booking agent. And I was like, none of this was expected. We were expecting to just be like slogging local gigs and stuff. So like the fact that kind of like some things came together that quick were like shocking, you know? And so, you know, we all tried our hardest for sort of like, you know, 12 months to keep things on that trajectory, but, you know, they kind of didn't go on that trajectory. And so, you know, we just kind of moved on, but that kind of left us in that position in 2019, where it was kind of like, we were just fending for ourselves, trying to figure stuff out. And ultimately, you know, like Lee said, we played like 2 or 3 shows. I think we played one at the Roxy, which was very difficult. No, it wasn't the Roxy. It was the Viper Room, which I kind of swore off ever doing those kind of shows down that end of Sunset. Like, it's just not my scene. But I like to go drinking down there, but I don't really want to play down there. There's a lot of that kind of pay to play vibe, and like, yeah, man, rocking West Sunset Boulevard type vibe, you know? And I think like you go there and you get treated a certain way. And that certainly happened to us at a couple of shows that just happened to get landed down that end of the street. And, you know, we played these shows, and, you know, even in some cases had folks telling us that like we weren't allowed to get free water until we played the show. And I was just kind of like, this is not how I envisioned.
To get what? Sorry, water.
Water, yes.
Like at one of the shows, I won't name the venue, but one of the shows, like I I wouldn't say I'm an aggro person. Maybe I am. I don't know. But one of the shows, I was literally like, my teeth wanted to fall out my head because I was gritting that hard. I'd gone up beforehand because I usually do all the kind of TM stuff like for the band. And so I'd gone to get some stage waters and some like, you know, hand towels at least for stage. And the dude said like, yeah, man, you can get waters when it's your time. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? My time. I was like, I just need to get waters for stage. We're like, this is going to be no sound check. We're throwing the gear up. I just need to get prepared. And he's like, yeah, you can have them when it's your time. I was just like, I'm going to lose my shit. You know what I mean? And ultimately what it was like this dude, you know, probably sees a lot of like serious name bands go through there, but also probably a lot of small bands. And it just felt like this whole vibe of trying to get big dicked. And I was like, I've done a lot of stuff. Lee's done a lot. Everybody in our band's done a lot of stuff, you know, but we're also not the kind of people that are going to be like, man, just give me some more. I've played in bigger venues than this or anything like that. That's just not our vibe. But I just remember being mad and being like, I'm going to lose my shit on this guy. And then we're probably not going to play a show because I'm going to end up getting into a situation. And so I had to go back and like chill for a minute. And I remember telling the dudes and they were like, what? They wouldn't give you water? You know, and it's definitely not the kind of venue you want to drink water out of the bathroom tap, that's for sure. But yeah, so I mean, we just you'll deal with people like that every now and then. You'll deal with situations like that, and I think that how you kind of, you know, how you kind of progress through those situations is kind of, you know, potentially how you're, you know, how the future of your band's going to be. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people will kind of act a certain way in those situations, and it's kind of like, as frustrating as it is, you're going to meet people like that all the time. It's not over. We're going to meet more people like that, and that's just kind of how it is, man. It's a part of the course. We're also going to meet tons of people that go insanely above and beyond. You know, we played a tour in the UK, and we were playing with another band, and basically the tour got cancelled before the first show. And so this was our first ever tour, and we were halfway to Sweden. And, you know, the band is basically funded out of our own pockets. So we'd got like non-refundable tickets. We paid cash for our transportation in the UK. And, you know, we're halfway to Sweden. And, you know, the tour got cancelled for a good reason. You know what I mean? And so we were like, what do we do? Like, how do we even get back to England? You know what I mean? We have no fees, no, you know, and so we kind of sat in a gas station on the side of the road for a minute and just got our stuff together. And we were like, well, we'd only played 3 shows as a band at that point. And I remember we said we can either eat this whole thing and then spring for more money to buy return tickets and go home, or we can just go stay with one of our friends in London, forge on, get back there, and then figure out like networking with all of our friends that we know from the music business and just see if we could put together some kind of rookie DIY tour, you know, something just like last minute, right? And that's what we did. You know, we stayed with our real good friend Joel Stanley and called everyone we knew, Facebook groups, emails, phone calls, text messages, you name it, right? And some really good friends, you know, a former agent friend of mine that not a former friend, but he used to book my old band. He came through with a string of shows for us, and then, you know, random DIY promoters booking us. And so to my point, we got a show at Bannerman's in Edinburgh, and that crew up there were amazing, right? And we went up there and they put us on at, like, we've never even played a show in the UK, right? We played 3 shows in the US. We have 1 song out.
Yeah,
like,
we had one song out.
Yeah, nobody knows who the band is, and they took a punt on us, right? And so we went up there, and I think we played to like 6 people. And if I recall, there was no support bands that could play it on short notice, but there was a guy in the front bar in the daytime who was singing cover songs with an acoustic guitar. And I went up to him and was like, mate, do you want to play a show in there for a pizza? And he was like, fuck yeah. So he played his show in the bar. And then later that night jumped into the room and kind of opened the stage to the, like, how many people was at that show, Lee? Was it above 10 or under 10?
It was just slightly above 10, I would say.
Yeah. So like 10, 15 people, this dude's playing for a pizza. And, you know, because we didn't have any money to pay him, but I also didn't want to insult his talents by saying, like, just come play a free show. And so we give him a pizza and bought him a couple beers. But the venue, the guy was like, "Hey man, we've got somewhere for you to stay upstairs." And he was also like, you know, "I want to give you guys an extra £100 because I know you've had it rough." And I'm like, this guy just lost his ass on us, because there's no way. Like, I think the fee was like maybe £100. I think that was the minimum that we could afford to go to be able to pay for, like, recoup the cost of the van and all the things we'd outlaid, right? And so, like, he gave us £200, and he was just kind of like, you know, "I know you guys old bands, and you know, I just want to help you out." And I'm like, so equally as these people that won't even give you water and give you attitude when you go play a show, on the complete flip side, you're going to get these people that will lose their ass over you just because they care about music and they care about the scene and there's values, you know what I mean? And so, you know, you're going to get both. And so obviously we all enjoy meeting the people that are rad and do that kind of put themselves out, you know what I mean? And kind of DIY and toe the line. But, you know, it's going to be peppered along the way with some dicks.
But that's the big thing, though, for me, and you sharing that story, is it comes down to the passion of the role someone finds themselves in. You know, it's very clear to me that the person that's denying you water is because they've got their own fucking fickle system, galvanized by their own experience and and the fact that they've lost love with what they're doing. Now it's just a fucking check in, check out. And then the comparison, the flip side of that coin is you go to Edinburgh and there's someone that's like, "I have a venue, I have space above for the bands to stay. I've researched, I've done diligence, I know who the fuck you are, I know what you're about, you've impressed me tonight, let me try and help you," and click onto that journey. That's why I walked away from commercial radio, because I felt that was too many people just clocking in, clocking out, that were just accepting the fact that, oh, this is that system and that is that system, and we don't want to grow, we don't want to change, we don't want to do whatever. I mean, but I am fascinated, though, quickly on the sort of LA vibes, because many years ago, I had some friends that got signed up. They went to LA, and then the next thing you know, they were doing a 3-month every Friday night at the Viper Room. And that, to me, because I've been to LA once, but when I went to LA 4 or 5 years ago, that was just for 2 days to go and see the Mars Volta and see my best friend that had moved down there. And then we just went to the Rainbow Room to sit where Lemmy sat, and that's all I really fucking did. And so I'm not aware of what that energy, what you mean by down in the street is. So what is the energy on the strip and the differential between the Viper Room vibe? I mean, or is it just simply the answer is you've already given a story? I can't get water.
No. I mean, it depends.
Yeah, it's not like, the one thing I noticed when I moved from London, you know, lived in London for a very long time. We had such a good music scene. The only way I could describe it is in London and in England in general, I feel like people help each other out musically. Oh shit, my friend's band are playing, let's go there and support them and let's try and get extra shows for them and stuff. Whereas in LA, I feel like as soon as I moved out here, it was like, you need to get into this clique or you're like out. It's basically people jumping over each other. They're not like, "Oh, congrats, man, you're doing a really big show." It's not that out here. It's a totally different vibe than back home. In England, I feel like everyone's very supportive of each other. And then out here, it can get pretty rough out here.
The Rainbow Room is amazing. Like that joint is the best. I mean, they don't really have shows on there, so to speak, but you know, and also the Roxy. The Roxy is great as well. The Roxy, you know, the Roxy. We played many shows at Roxy, and I would still go play at the Roxy too. You know,
Roxy's
but there's those smaller kind of bar famous venues, you know, that I don't feel look after or have the hospitality that some other places would have, you know what I mean? And then they have a reputation, you know what I mean? So for me, if you're going to book a show in Los Angeles, I'd rather play on the East Side, down in the Echo or something like that, you know what I mean?
Okay, good to know. Have you ever played shows? I mean, you must have played shows across the bands you've been in Germany, because I hear that Germany and Austria are just the best at welcoming everyone in.
So yeah, we just played shows in Germany. The last tour that we did was, you know, we hit Germany, and it's always awesome, man. Like I love touring Europe. It's a lot of people grovel about it, but I just feel like it's got a classic vibe, you know. And I think that, you know, you're going to hit some spots that are run down, but when you hit those kind of like classic spots, like Backstage and in Munich and
Matrix.
Yeah, Matrix, or like, you know, Melkweg in Amsterdam. Melkweg, the folks at Melkweg were incredible. Like, lovely, clean dressing rooms. They, like, you know, we're a support band, you know, and sometimes support bands just don't get looked after. But we just, when you get to Europe, they're like, you're going to get fed. You know, you're not going to have to worry about food and twice. And if they're not feeding you, they're giving you the money to go get, you know, you buy out, get whatever you want. You know, and so I love it, man. And then the vibes are always good there. I just feel like people embrace a show coming through. Like there's no, some places you go, like for instance, London, like playing shows in London's wicked, but there's a certain element and vibe with the crowd in London because London is going to get pretty much every major show and tour that goes through, right? So there's, I think, a sort of element in London where it's kind of like, yeah, well, the standard's really, really high. Everybody comes through. But you go somewhere else, right? And you're in Europe and maybe not every major tour goes through there. I feel like there's this element of gratefulness for any band that goes through there. So they're more open to, you know, listening and adopting new music and sort of like open to support bands and whatnot and really making a kind of night of it, right? So, you know, I think that if you hit some of those kind of mainstream markets, like it's going to be a little harder. And if you hit some of those markets that are maybe more starved, you're likely to get kind of more of a reaction. Maybe you'll sell a few more shirts and maybe you'll get a few more ads kind of on your socials. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I live on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island, have done for nearly 12 years now. And my family didn't have the most money in the world to go gallivanting around Europe when I was growing up. So I only really went around the UK and had a week in Germany to go to Phantasialand when I was like 16 to go and learn German, but go to a theme park. So it was 3 days on a bus, 1 day in a theme park, 3 days on a bus and Wunderbar or whatever. And so I'm always fascinated by all the people that I've spoken to across the last 15 years that are like, Germany just seems to be Germany and Holland. And like when I spoke to Nothing But Thieves recently, they were saying Amsterdam, like it's just like you almost feel like you feel like your royal family when you go and play shows in Holland because they treat people so well. So, excuse me, my oh dear God,
you're getting over what I just had.
COVID.
It's that no, it's not COVID.
No.
It's yeah, my partner and her son have had the flu for the last couple of weeks, and we got all tested and everything, and it's all come back negative. But I'm now just getting the smoke. But that's probably because I smoke, and so I'm going to get smoky cough lung. Derper in the chat saying LA feels like a shark pit. Liz Walker saying, wow, way to keep you cool way back when. Luke talking about the no water situation. Amory saying such a wonderful chat. And yeah, I mean, we're 50 minutes in. And I'm very thankful for both of you for hanging out, for goodness sake. Lee, I know that Luke admitted 17 minutes ago, it feels like, that he sort of looks after the band. I'm not saying Luke's the controller of the band.
Yeah, no, he's definitely our boss man.
Your point guy, you know, quick on the email response, quick on the Instagram, you know, text me at 8 a.m. Can I ring you right now? Like he's got the passion to make the connection, to get the next step going. But he's also a wonderfully eloquent talker and storyteller.
He is eloquent.
But we're gonna hit the pause button on Luke for 5 minutes. And Lee, I'm fascinated. Oh God, no, don't take it the wrong way. See, look at these bloody brummies. Look, taking it all.
I don't take it the wrong way. I do talk a lot, and I definitely think you need to hear from Lee because he's got a lot to say. Yeah,
and it's all love. It's nothing, you know. I just, you and I, like we did on that phone call that was meant to be 3 minutes and it was 15 and shit, we nearly didn't get our kids to school. Well, I mean, for me, not for... Anyway, but Lee, what's so fascinating to me is that all of these different bands you've all been in, yes, they sort of have some similarities in the sense that they have guitars in them, but they have very different aesthetics of what you're going to achieve with those former bands. Yeah. Was it you that decided, right, okay, new project, I need this, and then you go and headhunt them? But how did you even know these other three gentlemen in the first place to formulate Lowlives?
I started kind of the last 2 years of the Defiled. I started writing. I've always been like a grunge kid. It's always what I grew up on. It's always what I've always loved. And then at the end of the Defiled, I was almost like, we went and did a record. Like when I did an EP at like Dave Grohl's place and stuff. And it was like, I was almost trying to shoehorn these songs that I'd written that later were kind of ideas for Lowlives. I was always trying to shoehorn them into my Defiled songs, and it just didn't really work out very well. So I had a few songs demoed throughout the years that were just okay, I'll use these at some point, but they're just not going to be for the Defiled. And then I kind of just had enough of doing my old band. It just kind of came to a head, and I was like, I think I'm out. I didn't enjoy it anymore. I was just out, and it was, I was writing the songs and everything. I just kind of just had enough of it. So I took some time off, did like a couple of session jobs with some bands, quickly realized that I hated playing other people's music, being the side guy after, singing in a band for years. So then I kind of had these songs, met a guy that I'd met on previous tours that was also like a little grunge kid. And I was like, oh, we should, I've got these songs, you should listen to them. So me and him got together, we did like 2-3 songs. And then there was a point I was like, right, we need to start looking for a drummer then to get this off the floor. And then literally almost the same week, me and Luke knew each other not properly in person. We weren't in real life friends. We were like Instagram dudes. We were like both English dudes living in America, living in California. So he hit me up I posted a picture of, was it like a BMW rim or something? Me and him both love old BMWs and stuff. And he replied to a thing, and then he messaged me. He was like, hey man, how's it going? What's going on with the band? And I was like, oh, band's dead. I don't know if we'd actually announced it at that point, but I was like, yeah, band's, I'm fucking out. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I've started this new thing. And I kind of knew that Luke liked like Super Heaven and stuff like that, which is what I was into as well. So I sent him the couple of songs I had, and he instantly was like, this is fucking rad. Do you need a drummer? We should meet up. So me, him, and the other guy, DJ, we met up in a bar in LA. What's the bar called? It was really cool.
Dark Room,
that was it. So we went there. We were just like, let's hang out first I knew, man, he's one of the fucking best drummers you could ever imagine. I knew there was never going to be a problem there. It wasn't like, hey, let's come and audition this guy. It was like, hey, let's meet and hang out and see if we're cool. And then we got along instantly off the bat. And it was like, right. I don't even think we even went to a rehearsal spot, did we? I think I just came to your house and we wrote some songs.
Nah, we did do what? We drank
in
the bar first, and then we went to that space in Studio City.
Studio City, yeah.
Killed ourselves in a room for 2 hours, and then went back to drink more.
Yeah. and then from that point, then it was basically just me and Luke. We were like, right, we can get this off the ground. The other guy kind of had another thing going on with a girlfriend's band and stuff, so he went to do that. I get it. It was, good money and whatnot. So me and Luke were like, right, let's just write some songs and see where we sit. So we just kind of got together in his house, and Luke used to have, like, he still has a studio now in his new house, but in his old house he had a studio as well. So we're like, let's just hash out these ideas and see where it goes, see what happens, see if this is actually cool. And a lot of those songs, I mean, what was the first song we did? It was like Hey You, wasn't it?
Yeah, you came with a couple already that we kind of did up and finished off, and then the first song we actually wrote together, where you was like, I got this riff, was Hey You. We knocked that together. It like came to, it's just one of those things where, you're finishing each other's sentences kind of thing. It was like, he's got this idea, I need this part, and I'm like, what if it goes like that? And then we've got some lyrics, and it was like, man, we just did a song in like an hour and a half, and it's finished, like, arrangement,
So then after that we were like, right, let's see what we're going to do. We're going to need fucking band members to do this. We tried our hardest to be a 3-piece, because that was what we wanted. And then we went to do, basically Luke had a friend that he'd known for a long time, Steve, who's our bass player. He was like, I know this dude, he's really fucking cool, he's a fucking great bass player. You filled him for one of his other bands briefly at one point, and he was always threatening to be in a band with him for a long time. So we're like, let's get this guy down, kind of play with him. And he's fucking bass monster, just everything that we wanted in a bass player, massive, huge bass tone, and could actually play. So then we went to do a song. We went to do Burn Forever. Did we do it was just Burn Forever, wasn't it? We didn't do anything else.
Just Burn. It was kind of like, let's record a song with Bo and see if he's digging it and see if we're working it. And then, then we'll commit to an album.
And it was Bo's old studio, which was in this, like, right in the middle of Hollywood. And it was this, small studio out the back of his, like, it was in like a garage.
The cottage.
The cottage. It was very nice. It was an amazing place. But we were like, fuck this. Let's just put the drums in the actual, the control room. And the control room was small. So we basically just did everything almost in like a live setting. It was brutal having to sit there here, you know, Luke hitting the living fuck out of those drums there. And I think that kind of energy is what kind of comes across in the recording, because we literally just did it in one day. It was just like, and I remember Steve had just had a baby. He just had Jameson, his boy. And I remember the bass tracking, there's a video somewhere of, there's one bit where he has the baby because his missus had to go and do work or something. And he has Jameson like asleep on his shoulder and he's tracking the bass. But there was one bit where his hand was here and he couldn't get his hand up to near the nut to play the B. And I remember I had to sit opposite him and like play the B for him, like reach across and fret that so he didn't have to wake up the baby. So that was Burn Forever. And then when we were doing that, we realized there was all these little lead parts that we wanted on stuff that would just, I don't know, give it another element, like a 3D element to the band. I was like, man, I don't think this 3-piece thing's going to happen. I think we need another guitar player. It would also free me up a little bit because I was trying to like, I could run 2 rigs and one will have a looper and all this bullshit. And I was just like, I didn't want that headache. So then we met, strangely, after we did that, Jackson used to have a band that were also recording at Bose. His old band, huge Sayasin fans, and obviously Bose Sayasin. And then he messaged me on Instagram and was like, dude, and I'd never met him, nothing at all, never nothing at all. And then he just randomly messaged me and was like, dude, Bo was kind of mixing your song when I was there. And he was like, you guys are fucking amazing. I really love it. And I was like, well, actually kind of looking for a guitar player. Do you want to come and try out? And I felt bad because I was almost trying to pinch him from his own band. And then we booked a rehearsal spot in like Santa Monica and he came down. It was within 20 seconds of him playing. I think Hey You was the first song we played. And I like instantly it was just like, cool, this is the fucking guy. Like he shreds, he's the coolest dude. So yeah, just worked out really
brings
easy.
the average age of the band down
dramatically. So that's always a bonus. Our average age is now 27. Thank you, Jackson.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it just worked out really well, and it's just, you know, we get along really well, and musically, it's easy. It's nice to not stress. There's always that thing, like especially when you start bands when you're super young, you're always just like, oh, this is cool, but oh man, our man over here is not the greatest player, and you're just kind of covering people a lot. But you're like, it's my mate, so we're going to cover it, kind of thing. Whereas with us, I feel like it's the first time where we can get in a room and all I have to do is focus on my own shit rather than have to focus on someone making a mistake, which is quite a novelty. So it doesn't really happen very often.
Well, that reminds me of, and I've shared this story in a conversation on Twitch at some point before, where when I was 17 years old, my friend Jared said, oh, you got to come and check out my new band. And then I get there and they give me a bass guitar and say, you're playing bass, by the way, the bass player just quit. And I said, right, okay, what are we going to make music like? They're like, oh, it's like sort of like Dillinger Escape Plan meets Deftones, you know, because they're two of my favorite bands. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I can't fucking do anything you need me to do. I've spent 10 years playing trumpet. What the fuck am I holding a bass for? But, you know, all I had to do was stand there and be and they were like, we'll cover it with the other 3 guitar players. You just got to look the part and flail. And
just look the part.
You know, but I did not look the part. I looked like the middle class guy trying to hang out with the lower class punks and metalheads. And my haircut was far too parental controlled to be a pass. It was not, yeah.
Especially Dillinger. Jesus.
Yeah, Dillinger's like nuts too. You know, I couldn't imagine pressure in that situation. I mean, like I've had a couple situations which your story just reminded me of. One was a friend from an old band, Rich, hit me up and he was playing in the Yo-Yos and he was just kind of like, man, our drummers had to leave and like we're screwed like for somebody to cover the show tonight and the show sold out. Will you come and play? And it was on 5 hours notice. And I was like, I knew a couple of Yo-Yo songs, but basically went into rehearsal room for probably about 3 hours and just played through the songs, went straight to the show, was sat at the show with my like earphones in, learning the songs. I remember somebody arguing with me in the venue, like walking around at a music show with your headphones in, like, what are you doing? And then, getting on stage and just like, you know, knowing that I could play a beat similar at any point in the song, but where the actual changes were, literally it was like somebody, Danny actually on bass, just turning around going like, and I'd be like, oh, there's a change. So like cymbals, like, and something coming up now. Like, you're just kind of like flying by the seat of your pants. Nothing more stressful. But also when you achieve it and you complete a show and you're like, it wasn't so bad, you feel like extra energized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but Luke, that is a bit different. I'm talking about, I literally just showed up at a friend's house to a little house show. You know, that when I, very different.
Right.
You know,
Right.
after 15 minutes of me stood there looking like I'd just been shot, I said, I got to go for a smoke and I'm not fucking doing this. So
just walk off mid-set.
yeah, I mean, and it didn't matter because no one really, it was all shit anyway. It was just a wall of noise.
Where was the show?
Sorry?
What town was the show?
Oh no, it was just in someone's house.
Okay.
Right near Farnham. It wasn't a show. That's what I'm trying to stress, is that they were trying to get me ready to be in the band for a show.
Okay.
So I'm not going to sit here and have you both think that I played that. That was not a show. That was at a parent's house with all the girlfriends and the local kids in the community hanging out. You know,
I mean,
5,
that's
10
still
extra
a lot
people.
of pressure. That's still a lot of pressure. Your community and local girlfriends were there.
Local
That's a lot of
girlfriends.
Yeah, I mean,
That'd be a great band name, Local Girlfriends.
yeah, I wonder if Twitch would allow that in the fucking stream title. The Jody in chat, you did hear correctly. Derper has said, God, I love the instrumental to Hey You, and the chorus is amazing. Hey You, count your blessings, not your crosses. And Derper also saying, got the cool thank you note from Steve when I got the I Don't Like You pin, another good song with a wacky music video. Yeah, Derper seems like a massive fan here in the chat. Thanks for joining us today. And the other thing I wanted to note, Lee, was how adorable it was that what people couldn't see on our stream is your finger okay? Because you were hovering over that mute unmute the whole way through Luke, over Lee's share there.
Just like,
I think I said your name's the wrong way around, but Luke, it looked like you were just sat there being like, pause, fuck, unpause, fuck. Damn it.
Well, since I relocated into the house with this super kind of like non-rock and roll background,
Gaussian blur.
My wife has a break from work and was stir frying her lunch, so I was trying to keep the clatter in her pans to a minimum in the background. But hey, it's punk rock, right? So
stir fry.
There you go. Well, that sounds
stir-fry punk rock.
That's a big difference, though, Lee, in describing how it all came together. You know, there is a big difference in when you're learning and then when you feel that you've reached a part of your artistic journey where you're like, no, I think I do wish to have more souls around us. When I was in a band, and it didn't really go very far, you know, other than locally, it was a lot of fun a few years ago. I mean, I've been in lots of bands since I was a kid. I always wanted to learn drums, but I wasn't allowed that chance due to the fact that they were really fucking loud, according to Dad. And so from a music fair at Crudwell, when I went to primary school in Crudwell near Swindon in Wiltshire, and had like a music fair when I was 5, 6 years old, you know, where they've got all every instrument you can imagine. I blow a note on the trumpet. I play trumpet. I get to 15. I'm doing, you know, piano and singing as well. And actually, Luke, way back at the start of this conversation, 50 minutes ago, you made church seem so rock and roll. And I don't want to gloss over that. And to some it is. And awesome for them. But
I never went to church. Like, that's the thing. This was at school. Like, my school would it wasn't even a posh school. It was just a local school. And they used to have a piano and an assembly. We'd sing a hymn in the morning before assembly and a hymn at the end. And a couple of times they were like, yo, bring your snare drum in. But I would get told to like chill out if I was like kind of wilding it out a bit on the snare, you know?
Yeah.
But funny.
Do you reckon they still do the hymn thing in England?
I reckon.
Oh, it's still a thing. Oh yeah,
we had it as well. Even like I did a C of E school and then just a normal school. And it was still like, you know, the old projectors. They would put the lyrics down and it would go on to the thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The overhead projector.
I remember. Then they would let that. I would have been 11. No, maybe 10 or 11. They would have each person could have a project that they would have to go and do an assembly. Do you remember that? You'd have to do that. Oh, I had to do that, and it was me and my friend Kit, who was a drummer, and his dad. His dad was in a big band. Anyway, we kind of learned how to play Big Cheese by Nirvana, but literally just the intro, and all we did was repeat it for like 5 minutes. I remember doing that when we were like 9 or 10 in the school assembly, like in between hymns. It was pretty awful.
Yeah, Luke, I mean, you said yes to it and you had the passion for the drums, but Mr. White tried to get me to join the choir for years and I was like, just not happening. I know I'm a dork. I know I look like a nerd. I'm not doing that next. I can't afford that extra level of bullying. Sorry, I'm not going to be in your choir.
My drum teacher talked me into joining a brass band. So like my very first band was a brass band, and I enjoyed. I really enjoyed the rehearsals because it was the big brass band and the little brass band that I was in rehearsing together. But then when we'd go like to do a performance, we'd separate off, so it was not the big brass band. And the reason why I liked the big brass band was because the other drummer in the big brass band was this kind of like local punk kid, and he was basically he was in a band called Funbug, which, you know, little trivia, Funbug was the first British band to be signed to Lookout Records, right? So they like toured with No Effects, and, you know, super rad band, little 3-piece punk band from the town, and Adam was the drummer in that band. And so like for me, I was kind of like, oh yeah, this is like punk rocker kid, you know, but he also plays in the brass band. And so the two of us would get up to no good, and the conductor used to get so mad at us. We'd like get the stare over the top of the glasses, like tapping his thing. But yeah, so that was kind of my first real band thing, was a brass band. But, you know, I tend to forget about that because it was nowhere near the kind of band I really wanted to be in. So
yeah,
did your mate in the brass band have checkered vans?
That's what I'm picturing. It wasn't that time, man. It wasn't that time. But he had a mohawk, and he had the first time I'd seen a proper Tama drum kit. He had a bright pink Tama, I think it was a Tama Rockstar drum kit. And it was like, that got me set on the pink drum kits. I have a couple pink drum kits, and yeah, that it was because of him, man. I saw it's like he had this kind of like sparkly pink drum kit, and I was like, that is the best thing ever, because he was like a punk. Like it was the most kind of like soft color, but also this guy with a, you know, mohawk. So yeah.
No, I remember.
Oh, sorry, Luke. I actually have to go back to work. I apologize. I don't want to stop your guys' hangout, but I booked an hour in my calendar, and my time is up. So I know I should be getting back to work. I also think that potentially there's a couple of folks from work that might have joined watching the stream. So yeah,
that'd be great.
Well, what exactly is on the schedule this afternoon for work? I mean, if they're watching too, they don't give a shit about the project. So what is it?
I test software. So the thing that actually pays the bills and keeps a roof over my head is actually testing software. So I actually work in tech. I managed somehow to forge a career in tech alongside still trying to play in a band. So I test software, and this afternoon I am testing some tickets for some upcoming features.
Right. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. To be honest with you.
This is the greatest. That was the most deflated kind of like, wait, why haven't you got to fuck off again?
No, I mean, I'm not deflated. I'm just confused. What do you mean testing tickets?
So basically in tech, you use a software called Jira. And what that does is a ticket gets created, right? And it could be
like a request through a website, you mean? Someone's like, oh, this isn't working on my site. Or do you mean someone's buying a concert ticket? Are we diving into NFTs? I mean, finite. I need...
I'll go deep. So
not too deep. You're going to be late for the fucking meeting.
Yeah, you got to be going.
There's no meetings. So essentially, basically, a ticket is a work ticket, right? And in that work ticket, it will have like, hey, we need to build this feature. So a front end developer will code some stuff, and it'll be related to that ticket. Then that ticket moves across to me, and I have what I need to test in that ticket. So I'm testing the software. So no gig tickets, nothing that fun. But yeah, basically I got tickets that I got to test. So, you know, it's not all rock and roll always. I change shitty diapers or nappies for the UK peeps watching, and I test tickets for software. Lee has a more rock and roll job than I do.
I buy and sell guitars, and I smoke weed. That's what I do. Yeah, bro.
That's the story we all want to hear from the bands we love. Not that they have to test tickets, but...
All right. Well, Luke, we're going to let you go and test tickets, and just, I don't want to be rude about your Gaussian blur, but you know, that could be better next time we chat. It just is a bit rough around the edge of the head on the right side of the skull in particular.
Let me give you the plan. right? I mean, I could go with some like.
Yeah, my partner
we
Jody
could-
loves plants. Our bedroom is a fucking jungle. So show me what actually the plant is behind you, not the fake palm tree. We're not in Hawaii. What is that?
It's I forget what this is called.
Ah, that's a green leaf.
Fig. No, not fig. No, it's
Green.
not
It's a
fig.
green plant, lover.
There's a super
Leafy
Nordic
plant.
Santa Claus in the corner there as well.
God, is that Santa doing his best Jesus on the cross? What's wrong with him? Is he hanging from a?
I don't know what's going on. Let's get a close up on Santa.
Jesus
that
on
face.
a plant.
Wow.
Jesus.
It's kind of a terrifying Santa. So yeah,
Hanging from your fiddle fig.
but next time I swag you out with like maybe Golden Gate or something.
There
you
we
know,
go.
like-
Yeah, lovely. Yeah,
or some grass. You know, hook it up with the grass.
you know, Honey, I
So-
Shrunk the Kids. There we go.
100%.
done.
You know, Bug's Life.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I apologize that I got to jump off because I feel like, as we've discussed before, naturally these things will take on a life of their own. And you said some are 30 minutes, some are an hour, some are however long. And I would love to carry on talking, but ultimately, like when we get this album out, which maybe Lee will talk about, maybe we can come back and maybe get the whole band involved and
I
come
would
on
love
again
to.
because I love this.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's all about comfortability. We knew it was only going to be the hour. You're being very polite in making it seem like you're the bad guy here, the demon, the fucking shit stirrer. You've ruined the whole thing. But we knew that you were going to be leaving at this point. And no, Lee and I will keep chatting for a little bit. And then absolutely, I can't wait to meet the other two guys. And something else that I'll be starting doing in 2022 is some more mixers. Because one thing I always throw at people, and Luke, I may as well tell you this now instead of I'll email it later on, is one thing that I'm building on the Discover part of my website. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's just artists recommending artists. And every chat I have with people, I say, hey, here's 5 bands I think you should know. Maybe you can team up with, maybe you can play with. I mean, if you're down in California, I think Bexley are a really cool fucking rock band you got to know about. If you're going over to England, I think...
Already on it.
You're already on it?
Bexley. Yeah, I heard Bexley on a playlist, and we were on the same playlist. And I was just like, it was actually when I was building the studio, and so I just got like the playlist running, and this song came on. I can't remember the name of the song, but I actually have it on one of my playlists now.
Is it Desert Song? It's just huge.
Let me tell you right now. So it just bangs, man. The opening riff is like so good. So Bexley, it is If We Have to Die. I think it's that one.
Right.
Let me check. Yeah, If We Have to Die. That tune, I heard that intro and I was like, what the fuck is this? So I went looking and I was like, oh shit. So anytime that happens, I instantly go straight to the other Spotify songs. List the other Spotify songs. I go on social media, add on social media. And so, yeah, I did that. And and then she hit us back and was like, oh yeah, check LOWLIVES. And so, yeah, we kind of just, we connected briefly, but great recommendation, great band. And
Awesome.
Another DIY thing, man. She's hustling that stuff. And that band is tight as well, 3-piece.
Yeah, well, I had a chat with her and Steve about 4 weeks ago here. And yeah, wonderful people. I mean, that was a case of let's chat for half an hour, and we spoke for nearly 3 hours. We just fucking went through everything. And it's all well and good for me. I ain't got anywhere else to be. This is where I live. But for you, Luke, you've got to go and do your thing. But Luke, there will be an email incoming later with other bands that Lee and I will talk about or not. And then I would love to get 3 or 4 bands from each of you as well, with a little couple of sentence write up to then throw on the blog. But I'll link all that later on.
Yeah, wicked.
You go and test your tickets.
Yes, I'm going to go test my tickets. I just want to say thanks for reaching out, man. And I'm glad that this came up, and I love what you're doing. And just thanks to everyone that's tuned in. I mean, obviously we're on a Zoom, so we don't see what's going on there. But yeah, respect to anyone that tuned in, and let's do this again. Yeah,
we absolutely will. It's a wonderful little pile of human specimen here, and I'm thankful for all of them. Luke, go and do the bloody tickets, and we will chat again when the record is done. And get your bloody... Just let me... Look, I've been in Canada so long now that I just need to be British for a second and say, can you fuck off, mate? Just go and do your work.
It's going to be outside. It's going to be outside scalping my work tickets before I know it. So
yeah, exactly. Hubcaps and tickets. Anyone need hubcaps and tickets? All right.
In a bit, man. I'll talk to you later with your exhaust licking and whatnot.
Oh, Jesus. Cheers, Luke. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, but to come back round full circle to that point, Lee, in the sense that when you're in your first bands and when you're first doing it, you don't have the gravitas yet. You don't have that self-confidence and the vision and the growth that comes along with it to be like, no, I know what I want to do. And so you've then formulated, these are the three guys around you and surrounded by talent. You haven't got to worry so much. And then that, in turn, as you were hinting at, it frees you all this space to keep going and keep writing. And that's what I'm so intrigued about with you and getting to my question here, which is that for me, the biggest word that keeps coming up in all these conversations is authenticity.
Yeah.
And why I'm attracted to bands like yourself or Loser or Broken Love or Bexley or Psychedelic Porn Crumpets or all these bands that I'll send you and we'll talk about on or off the air of this chat here, is because they're writing from a point of self-reflection, of immediate connection, and not so much the usual songwriting where you can leave those large gaps in between for a listener to apply their own journey to. So what's your approach been, maybe in contrast of the former years, the old bands, and then Low Lives now?
I guess it is just an like, just make it real, like make, say something you're feeling rather than just like my old band. We used to tell random stories about the plague and all this kind of stuff. And after a while, you're like, when you're singing it live, doesn't really mean anything after a while. So it's nice to actually sing stuff that also helps me remember lyrics much easier too. Because if it's just random things, I just freeze up like shit. I used to have to write down the first line of verses on my set list because I would just forget all the time. So now it's much easier because it's actually stuff that is slightly more meaningful. But yeah, I agree. Like you can really hear when a band is being real, when it's like, oh, this is that band, rather than you can see through music quite easily nowadays. Like, oh, you can tell that they've had like 12 writers writing this. So yeah, that's one of the things actually that stopped my old band. I went to go and see a Melvins documentary, and it was like the opening of it in LA, and it was like they played beforehand and they showed this film. But in this
you were at that. That was so cool. One of my friends
really
flew down for that.
Really? It was really cool. I had a pizza with Dale Crover next door. He was just walked in. I was like, oh my God, like froze up. But at that point in my old band, we were moving labels. And then we gave them the Dave Grohl EP, and the label were just like, this is too kind of punk sounding. It's not polished, because our old band were kind of quite polished sounding slightly, and then we gave that, and they were just like, oh, you should go and take some of those songs and go with different producers, and we'll like make them better songs or make them something. And it just got to the point where I was listening to these 5 or 6 songs, and I was just like, this sucks, because this isn't me anymore. This is basically, I don't want to have to, if it feels that shitty the day after listening to them, how's it going to be for the next foreseeable future, just playing them every night at shows? So I went to the Melvins thing with my friend Jack, and I remember halfway through in the documentary, there's bits where it's like all these fucking legends like Josh from Queens of Stone Age and Grohl and all those people, and they were just like, Melvins were the true authentic band of that era, and they stuck to their guns and did whatever the fuck they wanted. Like they didn't like chase bigger labels or anything like that. They basically just, like the one time when everyone was getting onto that whole scene and they were trying to sign the next Nirvana kind of thing, and everyone was like, Melvins are the OGs of this. There's like all the labels came to this one show, and Buzz just basically turned his mic into his amp and just faced his stack. And he was like, no one's going to sign us if we're facing our amps. And then obviously they got signed still because of the hype. But it was all these other legends in that film saying that how they're jealous that they stuck to their guns and they lived the lives that they wanted to, like totally authentic life. And then it pans to him in like a shitty VW car that's falling to pieces and, playing small shows, whereas the other guys are playing stadiums and shit. But it was like, they were like, he's the only one of us that is truly happy that after all these years, because he stuck to his guns and did what he wanted. And I literally walked out of that filming and I texted all band manager. I was like, I'm out. I don't want to fucking do this anymore. So, and then that's why I started Lowlives, was just because I wanted to do something that felt, I don't know, me, I guess, like something that I wanted to do. Because all I was trying to do the last years of the Defile was thumb in these like low life sounding songs into that, and it just didn't work. We were like an industrial metal band. You can't add grunge elements, although we kind of did have slightly grungy choruses at times. I think probably because it was, 4 chords and my croaky voice, I guess. But yeah, it just didn't really work. And we thought that, going and record everything live at Grohl's place would kind of push it over into that territory a bit, but it kind of didn't. So I was just like, I'm just going to knock this on the head. There's no point in being unhappy doing something. It was good because we obviously did okay at it. We didn't really have jobs at that point, and we were kind of doing pretty good. So it seems like a silly time to quit something. But even on 5-6 years later now, I don't regret stopping doing it, because what's the point in doing shit that makes you unhappy?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're just wasting time. That was for me.
Yeah.
That was why I was like, I adore radio. I've got nothing against radio, but I felt like after 10 years with the same company and trying to grow and do as much as I can, and having doors closed and closed and closed, it's like, okay, well then I'll go and I'll trip over, and I'll trip and trip and trip again, and I'll build what this is and what was at radio. Liz saying in the chat here, inspiring, living authentically and starting low lives. Thanks for sharing that. But that's interesting. For some reason, Bring Me the Horizon comes into my mind, in the sense that, not in comparison to your old band at all, but how Ollie Sykes has said, like, well, I just fucking looked back at the early career stuff we were doing, and it was just because we wanted to be famous, we wanted to be known. That was back when MySpace was a big hit, and I was churning out my stand-up comedy on MySpace and getting booked through MySpace, and Bring Me the Horizon and Arctic Monkeys were becoming these behemoths. And they're a band that's been able to metamorphosize and change, and they're even saying now the next record's going to be emo. They just did Linkin Park inspired things. So I'm gathering then that your bandmates in your system weren't maybe wanting to play the expansion or the tweaking game, and that's why you felt you had to ultimately get out.
Yeah, maybe, but there's always that backlash, isn't there? I mean, Bring Me got the backlash as well.
Yeah, huge.
I fucking love Bring Me the Horizon, but like they got the backlash instantly, and it was just like I couldn't see how we could turn that into something else without doing 4 or 5 albums. But it would have just taken too long.
Just needed a clean cut.
Yeah, I think Bring Me did it. They turned it around pretty fast post, like Sempiternal was the turning point for them, and then Sempiternal was so fucking good. But I loved early Bring Me. I remember seeing them supporting fucking everyone, like going to Subverse Fest, like those days they used to do. Did you ever go to one of those in London?
I didn't go to many of those, but my best friend Alex went to all of those. Yeah.
My old band were one of the bands used to play those as well. They were so weird. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon visible noise shows that Julie Weir used to put on, and it was fucking bananas. It didn't even matter who was playing. It was sold out every. Yeah,
it was bonkers.
It was
like 12 hours straight of just very eclectic.
Yeah, all totally different bands. I remember our one was like Us, Forever Never, like Silosis, and it was all when we were like tiny baby bands, but we could go and play to like these kids, like 400 kids. It was just bizarre. After playing that, I remember being like, "Oh my god, this is what being in a real band feels like."
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, because you've got the passion in the crowd too, right? Because they're excited because
ape shit.
Yeah, half of them shouldn't be there. They've lied to get there.
That was why it was on in the daytime, because it could be in all ages. And then I think they used to stop it, and then they would have an actual show in the evening that was over 18s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like fucking 14-year-olds losing their shit. It was awesome.
I wish more venues did that. Yeah. I wish there were more venues the world over that catered more to the youth, because that was one thing that I was trying to plan here 4 or 5 years ago. Was I had a chance of almost going into an old nightclub, and I was going to sell the liquor license to then fund turning it into a youth venue and youth recording studios, and have my friend Mike, who's now my podcast editor. I haven't done that, but that was a dream a few years ago that we'll work towards later on with What Was That. So
I feel like kids need stuff like that though. Like I grew up on the Isle of Wight, and like
you had nothing.
Yeah, we were a tiny little island, but we had one venue called the Squadron, the Royal Squadron, and it was like that. I don't even think they cared that we were all underage. Like I remember when I first played it when I was like fucking 12 or 13, we would have to wait outside to then come in and play, and then just fuck off again straight away. Like our dads come to get us and carry our gear into their cars and take us home. But like it got to the point where it was just like, just try and grow some sideburns and we'll be fine. And it was such a really weird. It was like an actual scene that now even I'm still in touch with most people that were in that were still reminisce about, fuck man, we had like a good little scene going on. It's just that no one would come from mainland England to see the bands that were there. Because even listening back to some of the bands that were there now, they were fucking great bands. Like some of the old demos of those bands still kind of stand up really well. And it's kind of a shame that no one really came to see it. I guess the Isle of Wight, we have, what's that band that's big at the moment everywhere? The two girls.
Shay's Lounge. Wet Leg.
Yeah, Wet Leg, that's it. I had loads of people message me, you heard this band Wet Leg, and I never listened to it. And everyone was like, you have to check out this band. And then it was like, oh, they're from the Isle of Wight. That's why everyone's telling me to listen to them.
I always say lounge instead of Shay Long. There we go.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of a Lee Evans joke of French flipping.
Lee Evans.
I know. I was showing my partner Lee Evans the other night. It just reminds me of his joke about like French fragrance, and he would always go like "Chevet," and that's always been etched in my mind for like 15 years. So I've always said lounge instead of long.
I just remember his sweat.
He would sweat through two suits a show. I said to Jodie, that's why. She was like, oh my God, look at the perspiration. I was like, well, that's why he has an interval, so he can change into a different purple suit.
Different suit. Oh, imagine the scent of that suit.
That's the only reason he does it. I love him to bits. I would love to chat with him one day. But so lyrically then, you are speaking about, I mean, if we look at Derpa's comment here, he's been here the whole way through for an hour and 25 minutes and saying, you know, Hey You is a colossal song. That's the first song that I fell in love with. That fell me into the rabbit hole that was your creative. Yeah. So are you writing about you and your life?
A little bit. Those were like, I wrote that song on an acoustic and I was just fucking around, and there's this Devin Townsend video where it turns into a comedy thing at the end of it. He's doing like this presentation about when he's writing songs, and you start to hum along melodies to it, and you start to kind of like add words in, and then you gradually just do it again and again, and you kind of find these words that kind of fit nicely. And at the end of it, he was like, you know, those words will eventually tell you stuff. And his joke at the end of his was like, oh, I'm gay, because he's clearly singing. Like, it's amazing. It's so funny. But
I love Townsend.
He uses that thing of like, and I kind of do that as well, because I don't write lyrics. Lyrics are the last thing that I want to write. Like, I write all music stuff first, and then I start with melodies and then random words. And basically it's lots of humming and yeahs and oohs and ahs. But that one, I remember just writing just random lyrics, just random things, like the first thing that would come to mind. And that's pretty much the verse of Hey You, which is right. I have awful stomach problems, like, not that makes it sound disgusting, not in that way, just like burpee and ulcers, and I don't eat very well and I drink too much, and so I've always had these weird stomach pains. So that's kind of, those lyrics were, you know, sleepless nights, stomach pains. But it was just like not trying to sit there and like, right, I need to write some lyrics. It wasn't like that. I was just sat with an acoustic and then just writing the random words that I was singing, and then being like, oh, that kind of sounds like that's what I'm saying, and then I just wrote those down. So, and that's kind of how that song came out, really. And then I think I had all the verse one and all the chorus lyrics pretty much dialed. And then we got together with Luke and we started writing all the bits, you know, the harmonies and stuff like that. I think I had that labeled in my phone as Deftones song.
Nice. Yeah. That's what a lot of these tattoos are. The artwork that alludes to my favorite bands: Queens of Stone Age, Deftones, nice. Foo Fighters.
Nice.
What
Foo Fighters tattoo have you got?
Oh, Echo, Silence, Patience, Grace, Atomic
Nice.
Bomb dropping, just because it was, nice. I went with the owl mainly for Deftones and the skeletal guy for Homme, and I was like, this might be quite cool to be dropping down towards him and then covering up just some dodgy shit from years back. And you've done, and
covered up all the dodgy shit.
Yeah, so that was just, and you share what you want to share. That was just like, fuck it, reset. Or you didn't like some of the stuff you had on there?
Yeah, it was just super, like, I got tattooed when I was real young. Like, I had most things done by the time I was like 18. I had like a neck, my arms, like a lot of shit done. And when you're a kid, I was like drawing little cartoon doodles and then like take it to not even researching a tattoo artist, just going to the local one in Portsmouth and being like, can you do this on my arm? And it was just horrific. And I had it reworked a couple of times. It was just like, fuck this. So eventually, years and years later, I was like, just cover it in black. I knew this dude in Philly, Hood, who's the best at that kind of stuff. I've just got him to do one arm, and he did one arm, and the other arm I didn't even hate that much. The other arm was done by a good artist in London, but it was like, man, I kind of need both arms done now, so just blacked them both out. It's a bit of a freaks people out a little bit.
Well, how many layers did it take to do that? I remember the quick context for me is that when I was a little kid, my brother slammed the garage door on my elbow. That took a chunk off. It got sort of stitched back on, and then a month later he did it again, and it took off a bunch of skin around here, and that all healed up. Skip forward many years, I'm all black and grey on this side, and then all colour here. I wish I'd done it the other way, because this in the gap here
splits.
It rejected it. Like I went 6 times, and all this ink in like a 4-inch 4x4 was just spat out within the next week. I tried to go over it like 13 times, and that's not even a joke. Just this little bit here to try and match the color. How many layers have they done?
I had
to
a
do
little
that?
bit like that when it was colorful before. This is one hit. This dude is he's the best in the world at it. I knew of him, and then I messaged him and I was like, hey, me and my friend Mitch, who's a producer friend of mine out here, we're like, we really want to get, big black cover up, but you're all the way in Philly. Would you consider coming out here? We'll, help with your flights and stuff like that. So then that was kind of happening. And then my wife is friends, with Kat Von D.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I want to get some stuff blacked out. So my wife showed her this guy, like, oh, this dude's the best and the quickest, and it's just one hit and it's incredible. And that's all he does is just blackouts. And she was like, okay, cool. So she offered him a guest spot at her store.
Oh, well,
he
perfect.
stays at her house, like in a guest house and stuff. So he kind of hooks me up now. Me and him have become really close. He, loves our band stuff. He's just an all-round awesome human being. But yeah, it was like 4 hours. That was it. And I think I had one touch up like here. Oh no, it was this one, because it split like fuck, just because you're kind of in this bit when you sleep at night, he tells you to wrap it up, but wrap like a thick magazine around your arm and then tape it so your arm is outright at all times. So you basically for a week just walking around with no elbow joint. But in the middle of the night on the first night, it must have just come off, and then it was like that. And then when I went like that the next morning, it was like and just split. So he's very specific about how you look after it and stuff. But yeah, that's what most people are shocked about. That when they see it, like, I wear a long sleeve shirt most of the time. I live up in the mountains, so it's a bit chilly. And when I do wear a short sleeve shirt, people are like freaked out, like, holy shit, I thought you were wearing like a long sleeve shirt underneath a shirt. And it's like, no, it's it's tattoos. And the question is, why the hell would you do something like that? But it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
fuck it.
You can't, it doesn't matter what you answer with, it won't make any rhyme or reason to them anyway.
No, exactly.
They're asking it in the first place.
Like
yeah. I'm just that just blows me away. 4, 6, 8, 16 in 12 hours. What, 4 different sessions?
Hours. Yeah, 4 sessions. Yeah, it's nuts.
That is nuts.
He's just super quick. He does it. The size of the fucking Magnum needle he's using is bananas.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is it a flipping like 16, 20 needler?
I think it's like a 40, 42
Jesus
maybe.
Christ, man.
So it's real bad. Man, I got ink poison after the first time. He warned me. He was like, dude, it's like you get severely injured afterwards. Like the first time, the day after, my wife was like, my wife's covered in tattoos. She has more tattoos than I have. And she was like, dude, I think we need to take you to the fucking hospital. Like I couldn't. It was like pure flu, but it was like, as it turned out, it was like ink poisoning. Yeah, it was bananas. I was like out for like 2 days, just laid on the sofa, like shaking. It was pretty bad. Since then, it's been all right. I don't know why the others 3 sessions have been easier, but yeah, that first session destroyed me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot for your body to take. That many needles for 4 hours
trauma,
straight.
Basically.
That is a lot of trauma on the body, big time. And the stomach thing you were saying is just because of your choices. I mean, I got a flesh-eating bug in India many years ago that completely rewrote my stomach and innards. So I hear you on how it can be very uncomfortable certain times.
Yeah. It's just I've just kind of always had it. I know those really picky. I guess kind of being on the spectrum slightly, those really picky eaters. That was me as a kid. I'm still picky now, but I'm not like I used to be. I used to eat maybe 5 things total, and they were all beige and they were all fried. Like I didn't even eat pizza or anything like that. It was just like I would eat chips, fish cakes, like I would just barely eat. Like it was terrible. I just had terrible stomach for years from that, and then kind of love booze a bit too much, I guess, for the last 20 years.
Right. So now you have a palette of what, 10, 15 items?
No, I'm pushing 50, I reckon.
50, right. And they're all beige, or is there any sort of green
No,
in there?
still no greens, which is kind of weird.
Still no greens. You just wear the hair.
I eat carrots once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird. My wife gives me shit for it all the time, but she's helped. She's got it a lot better since. But yeah, when I met her, she was horrified. She was like, dude, is this how you live? Oven chips and onion rings. So, yeah,
wow.
I used to be very thin, though. That was nice.
That should, oh, God. Come on, Lee. That should be the next album title, Oven Chips and Onion Rings.
Oven chips and onion rings. That could almost work in the Hey You verse, too.
Yes, actually. That's where my mind went with the melody, is I was making up a satirical rework of the lyrics to that.
Let's do it. I'll do that for you.
No, fuck, we actually should do that. Well, you should. I mean, I'm game to jump in and do a guest verse, but I mean, yeah.
Please do.
I do parodies of things all the fucking time. I tell you what, if you can send me an instrumental, I'll make a parody and send it back to you.
We can do that.
Done.
I can 100% do
Sweet.
that.
That's awesome homework.
That'd be hilarious.
I want to look at some of the comments here. Derp is saying, me and my friend, we were at the New Year's Day show last year, or Dyer show in February. I'm confused then if it's a New Year's Day in February, when Lee and the boys played and we both sang Asking for a Friend. It was such a great moment and first time seen, and we'll treasure it forever.
Nice. Amazing. Wonder where that was. I wonder which venue it was.
Yeah, where was that, Derpa? Let us know. It is Day. New Year's Day.
Yeah, New Year's Day, that would have been. That was like just as everything was shutting down. I remember we got to Europe, like we did the English shows, and we went to Europe, and as we were in Paris, it was like a fucking, like 28 days later. It's like we got there and we had a day off there before the first show in Paris, before the European ones. I remember sitting in the hotel, it's a really horrible hotel on the outskirts of Paris, and every channel was the news about coronavirus, all being in French. And I used to kind of know a bit of French. My wife speaks French. And I remember just being like, shit. We were messaging like, the agent and stuff, being like, what are we doing? Do we have to go home? Like, do we leave? We just didn't know the extent of it. And then we carried on doing all of it, and it was getting worse and worse. And then I think we only cancelled 2 shows total. We cancelled some Italian shows, and then we got home. I remember as we landed, all 4 of us in the States, because I was going to go and see my family afterwards too, but it was just like, fuck, we need to get back because otherwise they're going to shut the thing. And as soon as we got landed in LA, I remember seeing on Twitter, Trump Twitter thing, like, we're shutting down all the borders like tonight at 12 midnight. It was just like, fucking hell. So we got home literally the day that everything shut. So it was kind of lucky.
That is very fortunate. Yeah. Derp saying in the chat it was at the Glasgow Garage. I would really like.
Oh, nice.
I have, I just really want to go back to Scotland one day and actually go in to venues and watch music. I mean, I've only ever been to Scotland a couple of times for like family reunions. And I've read like Baby Strange. I love that band. Wrote their song that came out, Club Sabbath, early last year. I would love, from some of the bands now writing songs about the venues that have helped them, supported them growing in their career. I'm like, I want to be in that venue. I want to see it. Anyway, so
Scotland is the best, honestly. For my old band Files, like, it was always, we were a London-based band. Our second home was always Glasgow. It was like the first place where people started to kind of appreciate our band. And they were always the best shows. Cat House, Garage, ABC. They were always just, I fucking love Scotland, man. It's the best.
Yeah, thank you for telling me about more venues. Because, I mean, you were saying, Luke was saying earlier that when he discovered Bexley, you do the next steps. You dive into more of their songs. For me, how I go about things is, okay, who did Lowlives play with on this tour? What do those bands sound like? Who do they recommend? Where did they last play? And you just go down a rabbit hole of just trying to keep searching. Danny182 in the chat saying the new material is sounding great. Bo is mixing Misery on Twitch. I'm loving it.
Nice, yeah. So we had a song we just did. So basically we did a record. We're kind of doing some stuff with that record currently. So we were like, especially now the world seems to be kind of almost shutting down again. We were like, let's just go and do 2 songs that aren't on the record. Let's just write 2 songs. So we went down with Bo, and we've known Bo, since the beginning of our band. And him and Luke have been tight for years and years. So we're like, let's just go and do 2 songs. So we just went down to Bo's a couple of days ago, just blasted out 2 songs quickly in his studio. So I think Bo yesterday was, he was doing like a live mix of the song on Twitch, which was pretty cool. And then he sent us the song afterwards. So it's sounding fucking ace.
Sweet. Okay. Danny, can you quickly let me know? Danny, I'm going to give you homework in the chat here. Can you let me know if that video still lives on Bo's account? And if it does, can you just link me in the chat here? That'd be great, because I'd love to check that out. It might have just been alive in the moment, then withdrawn because it's your art that's coming out later on, most likely. But
yeah, I don't know what he's if it's still up or not, whether he just puts it straight to YouTube. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I was out yesterday and I just got a text from Luke going, Bo's mixing it live on Twitch right now. It's pretty cool. So,
yeah, and also thank you, Danny, and Derper and Uzi Lou for all the follows. I really appreciate that. I'm etching up slowly to I wonder who that is. I'm very close now to the 50 followers that I require for affiliate. I mean, I've been on Twitch doing other things, gaming and fighting about the last few years, just getting to learn how this whole realm works.
Yeah.
And I launched this about 5 weeks ago now, having three.
Okay, nice. Oh, fresh.
So it's 3-4 conversations a week I'll have with artists here. So I really appreciate those follows, guys. That's sweet. Danny, live at the moment, but he is live currently mixing guitars. Oh, he's live right now doing it.
He's doing it right now. Shit.
Okay. All right. Can you just let me know, Danny, what the account name is for him on Twitch, and then I'll dive into that, give him a follow, and check that out after this chat as well. And Lee, cognizant of the fact that we've been going nearly 2 hours, and you've got some guitars to sell, just to let you, well, not the amps behind you,
I end
but
up
maybe
keeping them most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's just expand on. So these 2 songs are just going to be standalone songs. You release them both at the same time?
Yeah,
or one and one?
I don't know. We might do one at a time. We haven't really worked that out yet. We're going to see how they turn out first. What we have been doing the last couple of years is just doing 2 songs at a time. Normally an A and a B. It's normally a strong song and what we would have thought would have been not filler. I don't want to say filler, but like not one of the singles. I think on the last record we kind of had 5 singles like that were going to be like A singles. So then we just panned the other 5 as the Bs to those. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we're going to wait, see how they turn out. I mean, it's hard to tell until they're mixed. I'm pretty happy with them both. So I guess we'll see. We might do them as 2 separate singles. We might just do them as a package in one hit. I guess we'd go and do a video and stuff like that for them. See what happens, really.
And then where are the other 2? Sorry, I don't feel like I've mentioned Steve or Jackson for a while. Where are they all in and around the same area?
Steve's in Pittsburgh right now. Just visiting family. But he actually lives up where I live. So basically I live like 100 miles east and like 7,000 miles up a mountain of LA. I lived in LA for a while and then it was just like I wanted to buy a house and live in the mountains. And it's, I don't really like hanging around people. So I'm a recluse in the mountains with my wife. So, and then when pandemic stuff hit, Steve was also hating being in LA as well, because he kept on he was like living in Hollywood, then Koreatown, then he gradually just started moving further out and out and out. And, he's got 2 kids and it was just like, this sucks. Like I'm paying all this money. And he's like, I was like, this is how much it is to live up here. It's, half the price of living in LA and it's a nicer place. So Steve moved up here, probably a year ago. It was just before Christmas last year. So he moved up here. So him and his wife and his 2 kids are up here and they're happy as shit up here. So, and then Jackson lives all the way in Bakersfield, which is, I don't know, 300 miles, 400 miles ish from LA, like north. So we're very spread out, but we're just, again, because the 3 of them are very competent musicians, we don't have to be in a fucking rehearsal room 3 times a week busting chops. Do you know what I mean? Like me and Luke get together and do, the writing, and then we send them songs and ideas and stuff, and then we get together and just like, this is cool. We record it, and then before we go and do tours, wherever we're touring, it would be, you rehearse on your own. We played the songs for so long now, they're just kind of second nature. But and then wherever we'll be playing, we just meet there. Like whenever we go play shows in England and Europe, we just go there 4 or 5 days early, book a rehearsal spot, normally around the Birmingham area because Luke's family were there. They're not there anymore now, which might deem it a bit of a problem. But yeah, we do London or Birmingham and we just find a rehearsal spot. It's basically just to check rental gear and stuff, just to make sure everything's working and in order. And then we get together and then play some shows. That's it, really. So the joys of the internet being
Yeah,
it's easy now.
yeah. No, I wonder when we're gonna have a band that just call themselves the Internet Band, like Postal Service and Ben Gibbard sending
Postal
tapes backwards and
Service.
forwards all those years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny182. I've since now followed Bo. There are 15 people watching Bo do his thing, and also watching him eat his lunch right now as he mixes you.
What's he eating?
I don't know. I can't tell. He's just gone to a different.
He loves a burrito, that boy.
It looks like it could be a bowl of. What has he got there? Is it soup? Is it? Has
he got his Tipo Chico water next to him?
Yes, he does. He's yellow. Yeah.
Loves it. It's a cup. He told us the other day. I'd never seen one before. You know, like how you have beer koozies.
Yeah.
He has a water koozie, and it's got a zip down the side. It's literally like a little cat suit for his water.
It's going to show everyone in chat. I'm just cutting away from you to show them Bo right now. Yeah, that looks sweet. He's.
Did you subscribe to his page yet?
No, I have followed it.
Okay. When you do something, he has like this little bell thing that he has like these weird things that ring when a subscriber comes in. It's fucking hilarious. He was showing us the other day. He has like this funny comical nose and stuff. It like zooms in.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that when we stop talking so I can hear it.
Yeah.
I see now.
He's a funny boy.
That's amazing, Danny, that you said that. But now I just want to hear it. I just want to listen to what this sounds like.
Do it.
Okay.
Is there a way you can do that?
I can do it, and then let's see what it is. Note for Mike in the podcast: we'll remove this bit because the song's not out yet.
Oh yeah.
Wait, is that you? Doesn't sound like you.
Can't hear it. No, that's not us. He's probably listening to something else right now.
Yeah, he is.
He goes off on tangents.
Doesn't say any stream title who it is, so maybe he just moved on from you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I know that he was doing it all day yesterday. He's got a lot of mixing to get on with. I'm surprised he even started doing ours already.
Yeah, well, I mean, that might also be testament to the fact that he really fucking dug it and just wants to get it teed up, ready to dive into.
He's the best dude. Our Bo.
Is that a ramen bowl? Whatever it is, it's getting demolished and thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
It looks.
It is about his lunchtime.
Yeah.
He's a funny fucker, man.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, Lee, I think this is absolutely wonderful, as I was hoping for. It's been such a thrill to get to know you and Luke a lot more.
You too, man.
And I'm just really excited to see the next steps. And yeah, I'm not at all. There's 6 wonderful souls with us right now. We had a high of around 20. And I know that within the community of what was at radio.com, you are one of the most requested bands. And Hey You in particular, the last 14 months at the station has been live.
Oh, awesome.
And I know that Trucker Steve and Lisa Lathife and Victoria Rad Cyclist, I know that it's a go-to for them.
Yeah,
and,
that's fucking
on the off
rad.
chance they're here. But the conversations will continue. And I'm just excited. I'm excited. That is from a nerd point of view, that's what I love the most about these conversations, is having more than just 5 minutes to really dive into the soul of the creator and understand, in your case, that if we were in the same family, our parents would have been really annoyed at our simplistic palates.
Yeah.
Somehow we're still here. We both have partners who are yearning for us to have more healthy intake. I know that Jodie's laughing at you sharing your food, and probably with Harley right now, wherever they're watching, her 7-year-old son, my partner and her son, going, it sounds like he's describing me. Because
my wife showed me the other day, she sent it to me on Instagram. There's a kid called Zach. I think it's like a TikTok thing. I don't have a TikTok, but like my wife sent it to me, and it's this guy, Zach, and his parents film. They have to put something on his plate, which again used to freak me out too. If you put something on my plate and it was touching any of my other foods, I'd lose my fucking shit.
Yeah.
And they put it on the plate, and then he has the decision whether he has to eat it or not, but they can't force him to do it. These videos, like she sent it to me like yesterday, and I was like, oh my God. And he's doing good. So I'm like, I need to start doing better. He just grabs it and it puts it in his mouth, and they're like, how is it, Zach? And he's just like, no. And he will swallow it, but like, it's really good. But everything is pretty much always a no. But I feel like that's what my life is.
Someone
will
sat
just,
over there
just
like,
try it. Yeah.
Oh shit. Yes.
Yeah.
Broccoli. No.
Definitely no broccoli.
Yeah.
That's what the wife's been trying to force on me, but.
Oh, just steam it, a little bit of steamed brocco.
It tastes like the ground.
It just tastes like the ground.
It tastes like soil.
Throw it to the ground. You don't need this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lonely Island, stand up. The Yeah, Derp in chat. What's this going on? Yeah. Wife might train you to do that, says Derp. Liz is saying, great to hear this chat. Great to get to know Luke and Lee better. Thank you. Thank you for being here for so long, Liz. No, this is always a bit where I fall flat because I know that I've got more questions to go on for another hour or so, but I also love the fact that we can continue this when we have the other three with us in 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And Jody, yes, to summarize my point, Jody, when listening to you talk about what you love, she'll probably add to that. Yes, John does those things too, but also has a family-sized bag of Maltesers at 11 p.m. before bed after I come back in from my beddy time, 420 steps. And which means
Maltesers.
I had to switch from M&Ms. Used to be my favorite, but they changed the coating of the shell, and that started to really irk my stomach.
Really?
Not in a sense of diarrhea, but like gas. And so I had to move away from that and fell back in love with Maltesers. And now
What was your favorite M&Ms?
Oh, I'm the original. I don't want fucking anything else in it.
No, thank you. They're the kings.
Yeah, you see, I just so interesting. So you like nuts and you're shitting on broccoli.
I know. It's ridiculous. There's no logic to this madness.
There is no logic to this because you're insulting broccoli that has some texture and flavor and saying it tastes like the ground, and you're literally eating a shell.
It tastes glorious.
That to me,
my wife smells them because my wife is vegan, very strict vegan.
So's Jody.
I basically bite half of them and then put them up to her nose, and then she eats something else. It's a trick.
Okay, right. It's not weird. I think the world would be adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reminds me of like when, Dad's trying to feed me applesauce. Here comes the train.
Yeah, here it comes.
Come on. How old are we?
Yeah.
Sweet. Derp, good to know that your favorite M&M is crispy. Okay, and then
Crispies are banging.
Kinder Bueno. Yeah.
Oh, Kinder Bueno, Jesus.
All right. Well, look, this is the thing then. My goodbyes always span 15 minutes. But Lee, thank you so much for your time, man.
No worries, man. Thank you for having me.
The long story short is I think you're such a wonderful soul, and having this 2 hours to get to know you, I think you're an incredible artist, a great singer, and just keep being you, because that authenticity shines through, and it is only a matter of time until more and more and more people like Derp and Co. just gravitate towards you. Derp and Co, pardon me, and follow and support you, because you guys, everything's led to this point. So this is what's really exciting about 2022 is the next steps, the new record.
Thank you, man. That's very, very nice to hear. It was lovely chatting with you.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, let's do it. I'll get the Hey You stems over to you as well, so you can do your parody.
Yes, fucking yeah. Or just send me the instrumental as it is mixed down, and I'll do something. Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Cheers, man.
Awesome, John. Take care, brother.
Ta-ra for now.
See ya. Bye.
All right, well, that was a conversation with Lowlives, and I'm flipping hoping that Lee sends me that instrumental for Hey You, because I would love to make it into a fried food banger. Hey you, can I tell you that my favorite kind of food is anything that's fried? Hey you. Sorry. Not sorry. Get me the instrumental, Lee. And if that makes no sense to you, you skipped through the video, didn't you? Unbelievable. Whatever you do the rest of your day, and as always, please look after yourself. And hope there's some fun and smiles involved in the rest of it too, because we've got to cherish that positive. Until next time, I really appreciate you being here. You made it the whole way through, or even if you did skip, you're watching the ending. Thank you, and much love to you. For now, cheerio!